Welcome. I am Maria Lees-Dunlap. I am the admissions advisor for the Master's in Psychology program at Divine Mercy University. Some of the really awesome aspects that we want you to know right away as I get into this is that our Master's in Psychology program is 100% online and there is no GRE required for our master's program. So here's a little table of contents for us as we go through this program. We are going to start with a little bit about DMU. I'm going to introduce you a little bit more to the program. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the aspects of the program. We'll introduce you to the faculty. We'll go over some of those acceptance requirements to the program. We'll go through some of the next steps for when you're ready to think about applying or make that leap to apply, and then scholarship opportunities. And throughout this whole journey that we're going to go on tonight, Emily is going to interject at different points and share some of her story, which Emily, actually right now, before we even get into this and go through this, I'd love for you to take a minute to introduce yourself and share what you're doing and maybe just kind of just a quick how your MSP from DMU really was the catalyst for you getting into your position.
Yeah, I'd love to. So Emily Leedom, I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I am currently the executive director of the Lourdes Center, which is primarily a counseling clinic, but we do a lot of programs and education, presentation, that sort of thing. I graduated from the master's program in 2019. I started when I was pregnant with my first baby and finished holding my second baby, excuse me, which was just such a gift to kind of, get into the student mode as I was growing my family and all of that kind of stuff too. So as the executive director, I really oversee our agency. So I have 9 staff underneath me. Some of them are clinicians. Some of them are kind of front desk administrative people. And we really work to fulfill and carry out DMU's mission, but on a local level. So I was sharing with Maria you ahead of time. If you were to look at our mission statement for the Lourdes Center, it sounds a whole lot like DMU's because I was just super formed by my experience of DMU. It made a lot of sense to me. And so now we're working to carry that out here in the Diocese of Sioux Falls. So in a nutshell, we integrate the best of the psychological sciences with a Catholic vision of the human person in the service of human flourishing. So really that desire to help people step more deeply into who God has created them to be and to discover the process of healing along the way. And so by integrating what we know of the human person with that Catholic vision, we're just seeing great fruit and great growth here at the Lourdes Center through kind of the integration of this mission, which I really received from DMU. I should probably give credit or something like that on our website. Hey, I stole this from Divine Mercy. I've just been really formed by it. So
that's awesome.
That's me.
Awesome. Well, I'm so grateful you're here. And I'm sure that everyone who's on this webinar and the people that are going to watch this webinar after we send it out again, in a few weeks, that everyone's going to be so appreciative to all the things that you're sharing with us and bringing to the table. And so I thank you for being here. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started here. So DMU is a Catholic graduate university that's actually comprised of 2 different schools, the Institute of the Psychological Sciences, which began in 1999. And then in 2014, under IPS, the MS in Psychology was added. Then in 2015, the School of Counseling was added. And that's when it was time to take on a new name, Divine Mercy University. So DMU is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges to award master's and doctorate degrees. So that is we're in the same league as big name colleges that you may know, like Duke, Georgia Tech. So just so you know, we are accredited, even though we might be a smaller school, we definitely have that same accreditation. And then DMU was also formed, chartered, and established in the Commonwealth of Virginia in 1998. So how is our master's in psychology different than other degrees. And Emily, I can go through this list of why, DMU is different. We have distributed learning that's, has an asynchronous style, which we'll get into a little bit more, but essentially you'll use your own time management skills to fit your coursework into your schedule. We have amazing faculty members that are well known in the field, that are so passionate that they, saw a gap and wanted to make sure that we're infusing everything single student with such a strong psychology that they're able to be transformational leaders. What you learn, you're going to be able to directly relate to your life professionally and personally. And then every single class at DMU is infused with that Catholic Christian meta model of the human person, which is looking through every single course that you take through that lens of faith and upholding people to the dignity that God created them to. So those are some of the 4 key things. But Emily, from your perspective as being a student, as now being, a professional working in Sioux Falls with marriage and families, what are some of the things that you would say that set DMU apart from other opportunities?
Yeah, I think the 2 things that landed me at DMU, number 1 was how the class structure was ordered. So it was kind of this process of 8-week classes at a time. And so for me, I was working full time. Like I said at the beginning, I was pregnant with our first baby. And by the time I finished, was holding our second. It allowed me as a full-time working mom to do it. And I honestly just don't know that I would have been able to do it any other way. I think it set a really helpful pace for me, knowing that I wanted to go back to school. And at that point in my life, it just set a really helpful pace for me to be able to do it. So that was the number one of the first things. And then probably the most important thing for me was really that integration piece. So as I was looking at the course curriculum and the classes that were going to be offered, the way in which each of them integrated, like you said, like you alluded to, that Catholic vision of the human person, I just found that super attractive and super helpful because I didn't want to have to sort through. I didn't want to have to sort through truth, not that I'm not willing to dig or anything like that, but there was just this joy and this experience of knowing that the professors that were teaching me were aligned in a vision of the human person in an authentic way of what it really means to be human. So the integration piece was super helpful, and knowing that I wasn't going to be being trained in things that were contrary to what was good for the human person was super a selling point for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. When I share with people, I'm like, it's holistic with the W, it's like the whole thing,
Yes.
Which is super awesome. And you definitely alluded to that. Thank you for sharing and adding that. And I just realized too, I didn't tell the people that came on maybe after I made this announcement that if there are any questions that you have as we go through, please be sure to put them in the chat or in the question and answer, and we'll make sure that we get to them as we go. Yeah, Amanda, she also feels like the CCMP was a huge selling point for her as well. It is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And then Antonia, you have a question about the application deadlines, and we'll get to that as we go through the program towards that part of the webinar. So in these next 3 slides, we're going to share with you some of the benefits of the Master's in Psychology program and some of the advanced skills that you may receive through this program. And Emily, I would love for you to jump in at any point. I'm just going to kind of pick a few of these to talk about, and what other ones you feel like have been really strong for you as a graduate. I'd really love for you to share that. So, that first one, the analyzing the major concepts, theories, and methodologies in psychology. This is a very, very strong psychology program that is infused with the Catholic Christian meta model of the human person. So you are getting that very holistic psychology. Also, you'll be able to evaluate critically your own biases, assumptions, attitudes, and their effect on your decision-making, planning, communication, working in teams, all the things that we do. And Emily, I think you kind of even alluded to that as you were just sharing about some of the healing that you went through. Like there's flourishing yourself that goes on through this program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciated too that there was definitely a breadth to the education, but there were particular psychological theories and that sort of thing that really, I mean, they impacted my marriage. They impacted how I parent. They impacted how I show up for my friends, those kinds of things. It gave me the skills to be able to recognize, like, one of the critical things I remember was unhealthy patterns of behavior and how to interrupt unhealthy patterns of behavior. And I use that all the time. So I think just the real life benefit of some of those things has been really great.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And that one key example of interrupting unhealthy behaviors, that's so important, especially I think in today's day and age. So that's a great skill set to have.
Yeah.
Another one is evaluating attitudes, skill sets, and strategies for being a transformational leader in a service delivery setting. And then some of those advanced skills, as I shared, the ability to recognize and respond to mental health challenges, how to lead a team through crisis, strategies for program evaluation, and fostering increased cultural awareness. So before we move on into more in-depth of the program, I mean, Emily, on that skill set, I mean, is there any other big key things that you want the people that are on tonight to know? Like, this is something that you're going to walk away having the confidence to be able to utilize in your life that's really going to be transformational, not just for you, but for the people that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we can talk about this a little bit later, but I know for me, one of the questions that I had early on was this program, knowing that it didn't lead to licensure, would I still be able to utilize the psychological principles? That was a fear that I had. And yet at the same time, I knew that I didn't really want to sit one-on-one with people all day long, back to back on a client schedule. My husband kind of came from that background, and I knew that we needed one of us to be able to be flexible and to not have that, client schedule. And so one of my concerns was, will I be able to utilize these skills, these psychological skills in another way? And really my heart in choosing the master's program was because I wanted to integrate it, particularly in ministry. And I just saw over and over again in presentations that I gave 3 years ago, upon completion, and continue to do now, the way in which I'm integrating the psychological principles, and it has elevated my ability to do ministry really well. And that sounded really prideful. I mean it in the most humble way, but it just has elevated what I've been able to bring to the table from kind of a clinical perspective, which I've just been really grateful for.
No, I don't think that's prideful at all. I think it's just the reality, right, of just what you're really attaining from this program. I think that's a great testament to that. And on this slide, you'll see, as Emily kind of pointed out too, as the master's in psychology is not a licensure track degree. So, as Emily, I mean, that was a perfect segue into this statement, is that, there's a lot of times when people are wanting to do masters in psychology and they're thinking the only way that they're able to really help people is that one-on-one kind of counselor client relationship. And in reality, we all have psychology, and not every person is going to be in that setting. And so it's, depending, we have, and we'll go through this too as we go on, but there's people from all different walks of life and careers that are really diving into this MSP, so they're able to have a better understanding of the human person and feel more confident in their skill set to be able to react and respond to other people. So one of the great things that we offer now in our master's in psychology is our 5 concentrations, and they are marriage and family, human services, leadership, pre-PhD, and self-design. And Ryan from Sioux Falls, he's also debating between choosing marriage and family and leadership, and wondering if could the self-designed option be designed to take classes from those 2 options only. Well, it's a really great question. And we have a lot of people that are kind of in between different concentrations. And so we have the self-designed option, which is a really great option for individuals that maybe don't want to just focus in that one lane. The self-design is created with 1 elective from the marriage and family, 1 from the human services, and 1 from leadership. And in these next slides, you'll be able to kind of see what those could be. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? And you can feel free, again, at any time to just shoot them in the chat as they come to you, but I just want to take a pause really quick to see if there is anything that I could address, Emily could address at this point. Do students move along through the program together? That's a great question, Amanda. So you'll start in your cohort, which the next, oops, didn't mean to do that one, but the next cohort begins on January 11th. That's our spring start. You will move primarily with the same people, but we do have two tracks. We have a 16-month track, which is our fast track, and our 26-month track. So there may be some times where the 16-month track gets a little ahead of the 26-month just because they're going at a little bit of a faster pace. But overall, you will be with primarily the same individuals. And Emily, I don't know if you have, a testimony to that of how, one of the questions, and we'll get to this too down the slide, but since this question has come up, is how are student relationships formed when we're solely online? How does that work?
Yeah, I just commented on a Facebook post of one of the students from my cohort, earlier this week or something like that. Yeah, it was, it's to be honest, it is kind of what you make it. If I had my choice, I would love to sit in a classroom with people. That I would love to do that. That wasn't an option for me. I would not have been able to get my master's and do so in a way where I had to sit as a working full-time mom. It wouldn't have been wise for me. I think the online option, it allowed me to pursue my master's. I knew that was a platform that I needed to take. And decided kind of consciously that I was going to make the absolute most out of the opportunity, and I was going to connect with students. And it definitely, it's just funny how that works, like in the online era. We live in this, so we know how to do it. And the ways that I connected with people, and I email back and forth with a religious sister that was in my cohort. And, when we got stuck on an assignment, you kind of have those people that you email like, help, how did you guys do this? Because does anyone want to get together and study for this? Or can we talk about the paper? I'm not quite understanding. Or I'm going to reach out to the professor. Hey, here, I'll CC you on it because I know you have the same question. So we just found ways to connect, and it sort of created a little community as we went through, which was really beautiful.
Which is so cool. I love that. So in these next few slides, we're going to go through the curriculum, and it's broken down by concentration. So that first one is the marriage and family concentration. And as what you're going to see in these next few slides is that the core classes are all the same. So your core classes are not going to change regardless of which concentration you choose. The electives are what are creating your concentration. So as you can see at the bottom, for the marriage and family, the electives that you will choose from are marriage and family systems theory, human sexuality, flourishing relationships, and marriage and family interventions. So you'll choose 3 of those. Now, you'll see in this, every single cohort begins with this helping people flourish, a Catholic Christian approach to psychology. And I have loved these past few webinars that I've done with different faculty members and a few different alums, because every person comments on something different about this first course that was so monumental for them moving forward for the program. So I don't know, Emily, if you have anything to share about just that first class that everybody starts with.
Oh yeah, it anchors the whole thing. I'm looking, here's my book. They put that class into a book, and it's great. And we're using this book in our office to go over with as a staff, kind of the whole thing. But it anchored the entire program in what a Catholic vision of the human person really is. And I just found that so helpful. It gave me language to describe, in some ways, what I already had known, just because of my own formation and my own journey into the faith and that kind of thing. But it just laid out in the most beautiful way language for me to be able to articulate it. And it helped anchor every other area of study in that way. And so, yeah, I think it's one of the most, in my opinion, it's the most important course in the entire thing, because it lays a firm foundation with what is a human person. It just offers anthropology, and really orients us towards the fact that the gospel promises that he came so that we might have life and have it to the full. And that's what flourishing is. So it gave this vision of flourishing that is freedom and is joy and is connectivity and is goodness and truth and beauty. And so, yeah, it just anchored the whole thing.
That's awesome. I love that. That is not a word that I've heard in the description yet of it anchoring the whole thing, but it's been kind of the same idea. I love that anchoring, but it's been interesting because every person that shares their experience of that first course has a similar thing to say. Like, it really sets the tone for moving forward. And that's
absolutely
so cool. Absolutely. All right, so move to the next concentration, which is the human services. Again, you'll see those same core classes, and then the electives that you would have to create that concentration are relationship and intervention skills, theory and application, personality, individual differences and intelligence, and then group counseling and group work. Our leadership psychology concentration, the electives that form that are transformational leadership, leading people, programs, and organizations, and then applied leadership skills. Our pre-PhD, actually, we need to kind of change this elective part. It's in the process of change, which is really exciting for individuals who are interested in going into this concentration, pursuing further education after their MSP, is that it's actually going to be consisted of 6 one-hour credit courses that will create that elective. And you'll be working one-on-one with an academic advisor through that to create a thesis to then present or to publish, which is super exciting and makes you a more competitive candidate for other PhD programs. And then we'll get to self-design. Ryan, hopefully this will answer some of your question, is that you'll have, again, those same core classes. And then you will choose the electives from each of these blocks right here. So you would choose, one for marriage and family, or one, based on which elective spoke the most to you, you would choose that and then figure out in that block which ones go with that in correlation to the other concentrations.
I don't know how you do that. Those are good options.
Yeah, aren't they? I know. I really think it's super cool. I was just talking to somebody today who it wasn't the right timing a few years ago for them to start the MSP, but now they're feeling like it is. And they were so excited about these concentrations, which I think is a really great thing to offer for our students. Mm-hmm. And also I would say something that sets us apart a little bit too. So at this point, as we're kind of concluding going through the curriculum, are there any questions that anyone has about any of the concentrations, about any of the curriculum, any questions for Emily about any of the courses, or give you guys a minute to post anything? And Ryan, did that answer your question? The self-designed, can a person take more than one elective? No, Ryan, typically not. That would be, you would add those classes onto your program. So these electives are broken up based on the schedule of when things are. So these are the ones that go together. But if you did want to take another course, you can definitely take another course either at the end of your program or double up at some point if that's something that you wanted to do. But these are how they're blocked out at this point. Does that answer your question? Awesome. All right, great. Well, then we will just keep moving on here. So I have a question for all of you as we get into these next 10 slides of career opportunities, which is super exciting. Also can be very overwhelming if it's all just coming at you. So I love to know, before we go into this part of the presentation, for those of you who are here on the webinar, are you looking for a new career? Is that why you're furthering your education? Are you looking to enhance what you're currently doing? Are you looking to receive a promotion? I'd love to just know if you can just quick in the chat, just kind of let us know what your career focus is for going into the MSP. And Emily, while they're like, writing, why don't you share with us, you said you want to further your education, like.
I was just going to say, while they're typing that, Maria, I'll answer mine.
Yeah.
I really had no desire of changing my career at the time that I started. I really desired to elevate what I was already doing. I was the director of marriage and family, working for the diocesan church. Absolutely loved my work, loved my job. And it was, honestly, I can point all the way back to a psychology class that I took as a sophomore in college, I think, that changed my life. Like, it just was so powerful. I absolutely loved it. And wondered how people went through life not knowing this stuff. So, fast forward 9 years later, here I was working as the director of marriage and family. And I was like, I still have this desire for more psychological knowledge to understand, why do we think the way that we do? Why do people behave the way that they do? What happened? What's happening in marriages? Like, what anchors marriage? I'm using that word a lot tonight, but that was really what drew me to pursue my master's at the time. And then, as God would have it, I finished, and a new door had opened up, kind of in a similar but different role. That was just absolutely where God was calling me to be. So it ended up taking a little bit of a career turn anyways, but still kind of in that same thread, that same path.
Yeah, that's awesome. God is just like kind of sneaky like that, right? Sometimes it's just like, oh, hey, I'm doing this for one reason. And then it's like, boom, actually, surprise.
Totally.
This is actually why I wanted to do this. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I love too, like, I don't know why it keeps sticking out to me. I love that you keep saying, like, it was 9 months after you graduated. Like, you keep talking about, you had your first baby, you graduated with like your second baby, and then 9 months later, here you are in this job. Like, there's like a whole like circle of life here going on, I feel like.
Oh, it's so true. It is so true. And I have to tell you, when I came here to the Lourdes Center, we were formerly known as Catholic Family Services. And I knew that the agency was just ready for a major change. We needed something different. And 9 months after I came to Catholic Family Services, we changed our name and like rolled out this new vision and mission. So apparently that's a theme in my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The Lord just has that funny timeline for me. So.
Oh, that's so cool. I actually kind of got a little goosebumps on there. So
yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like we had a few people that have responded in here. Let's see what we got going on. So it looks like Stacy wants to start a new career that incorporates her current skills. Antonia is looking to change course from her accounting background. Amanda, I had an amazing conversation with Amanda yesterday. I was so inspired by her. She was hoping to have credentials to support her children in case something happened, God forbid, like her husband passed away or something crazy. But now she wants to have a different career. So her kids are getting ready to go to school, and many careers require a master's. Yeah. And let's see. Ryan's looking to enhance his skill set in his existing jobs, but it's also open to potential career opportunities. So, and Antonia is continuing to say, I'm still exploring. So my path could continue in business, or I could go all the way to a PhD. That's awesome. So it sounds like we got a little bit of everything. People that are wanting to enhance their skills, people that are maybe wanting a new career, people that are, just kind of open to what happens, but know that, that next step is continuing education, getting a master's. So that's really exciting for me to hear, because one of the awesome aspects of the master's in psychology is that there are so many options for individuals that have this master's. As you can just see on this screen, there's 5 different areas where we see the master's in psychology just like seeping into, the social mental health services, industrial, organizational, ministry, education, government, and law enforcement. We have seen that there is a need for masters in psychology, especially ones that have this very holistic education in so many aspects of the working world. One of, when I first started, I just started in July. So I'm a newbie here too. But one of the things that I loved learning about is on our website, there is a testimonial from Jerome Placido, and he is an alum, and he is in the Silicon Valley, and he does IT. And he was kind of at a cross point where he could choose the MBA or an MSP. And his desire was to enhance his skill set and grow in leadership roles. And his whole thought process was, what better way to be a good leader than to understand how people work and how people think. And he went through the MSP, and he's excelled quite wonderfully in his position. So it's definitely an opportunity in all different areas of career opportunities. All right. So like I shared, we have a lot of slides with career opportunities that can be a little overwhelming, but also can maybe spark some interest, some thought process that you may have about, if you aren't exactly sure what you want to do with the MSP, maybe something might stick out with you. I was talking with someone who's starting actually in the spring cohort, which is amazing. And as we were talking, she works at a community college. And I just happened to say to her, if you had your master's in psychology, you could potentially teach in a community college psychology. And she started, like, her voice started shaking. Like, she was just getting so emotional. She's like, that's really a huge desire of my heart, because I went to community college and I have such a passion, because it's so it's not good enough. People don't see community college as being good enough. And really, it is so great. I had such a great experience. And so it was just really cool that you just don't know what opportunities are going to be unlocking for you. And I apologize, but I do have a little human walking down bringing me my water bottle. So this is real life. Thank you, honey.
I love it.
Thanks, babe.
I love it.
So here are some of the healthcare and mental health services that you could find some opportunities with your master's in psychology. There's also career opportunities in business, sales, marketing, and advertising. Yeah, go upstairs. Okay. So some great things: human resource manager, employee trainers, sales reps. There's also opportunities in parishes and dioceses and in ministry. There's another slide about ministry, community colleges and universities. I was just sharing kind of a little bit about that. Children and family service organizations. We have a few individuals that are actually starting in the fall cohort that are going to be drug and addiction rehab counselors, which is super exciting. There's such a need for that. And the master's in psychology is going to give them the skill set to be able to really hone in on those skills and be able to do that and be able to impact more people. We also have, in the government, parole officer, social services manager. I talked to a woman who wants to be a criminal profiler, and getting her MSP is what she needs to be able to take the next steps for that. And then again, in ministry, we have Emily's, the prime example of how working in ministry is so effective. I mean, now that we're at this career opportunity slide, you've kind of shared with us your journey and kind of some of the things that you're doing and how you're working in really creating this center for people to come and have their whole person really seen and supported. But for you, Emily, as you're looking at this, career opportunity, you said even, 9 months after you graduated, this was an opportunity that presented itself because you had your MSP. What do you feel like is a skill set, that you learned, or something that you take from your MSP that you're like, this totally set me up for moving forward in this career?
Yeah, I would point to the leadership education. So I think at the time it was one of my last courses that I took, was about leadership, integrated leadership or something like that. I apologize, can't remember the name of the course. But I really found that course to be extremely helpful in understanding my own style of leadership and understanding my desire to be a servant leader, in understanding, kind of what we do and what we don't want to do, and how skill sets can transfer or not transfer to various work areas and that kind of thing. So I would say, and I always hate this because in some ways it sounds like we're a little too obsessed with letters after our name or something like that. And I really don't mean it that way, but I do feel like having my MSP elevated my resume, and elevated my ability to engage in conversation, to say, hey, I think I'm a really eligible applicant for this position. And I remember even talking to our HR representative at the time when I was first looking at this position that I'm currently in, and her saying, well, we were kind of looking for this. And then her saying, well, you have that, actually. You know, it just was this beautiful moment. And we laugh about it now. She's a dear friend of mine, but where I was able to say, hey, I've completed my master's in psychology. I understand the human person. I understand leadership. I understand an integrated vision of the psychological sciences. I think I'm a really good candidate for this. And having my MSP, I think really elevated me in their minds to say, hey, this person could be a leader for this agency. Not only could they do good work as an employee, but she could do good work as the leader. So that really was beneficial for me, really gave me confidence, I would say, to be able to kind of have that to stand on, to say, oh, I studied this, or I remember this, or, oh, I did a paper on this, whatever it was. That was really, it just opened a great door.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm sure they just, are so grateful that you had that confidence to really share with them your skill set, that you have just been such a great fit and such a great blessing, I'm sure, to everybody at the Lord Center and to us too here. I mean, this is so great. I'm learning so much from you right now. So it's so awesome.
It's been a wild ride, that's for sure. And I definitely, none of us have any of it figured out. We laugh about that all the time. Like, we are building a ship and learning where the pieces go day by day. And it has sometimes feels like it has set sail and we're trying to catch up with it. But yet at the same time, there's just this rootedness of understanding and of confidence. And I attribute a lot of it to I just keep on thinking, like, the language, like this master's program, it gave me the language to share, educate, and bring other people along with truth. And it's been life-changing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. So now we're going to go into the online classroom. No, Stacy, this is not a master's in counseling. This is the master's in psychology. That's a good question. This is a non-licensure track degree. So a little bit about the online classroom. Emily shared a little bit about how you're able to build these relationships with your other cohort members. But some of the great things that we touched on briefly at the beginning is that this is an asynchronous learning environment, meaning that you will receive your assignments, you'll receive all of the information and just the real meat of what you're learning on a Wednesday. And then you'll have until the following Tuesday to use your time management skills to fit your study time into your schedule. So there's no specific time that you need to be on the computer. Therefore, the spring start, which is in January, so confusing. I'm always like, that's still winter, but it is our spring start, is January. Hopeful thinking is what I keep thinking, hopeful thinking. But you will, in that first class, you will have an online residency, and that weekend is February 24th and 25th, where you will be on the computer. So it's the only time where you will be on the computer and have the time to meet your other cohort members, to do some learning together with the faculty members. So it is something that we know that we can tell people right now that you can mark your calendars for that. One of the great things and the great feedback that I hear from alums and current students is that the faculty are so responsive and so willing to be a support for you as a student. And Emily, I know you kind of touched on that. If you have a question, just emailing the professor, but do you have any real tangible experiences with that, just the support that you receive from the faculty?
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Gross, actually in my work at the time as the director of marriage and family, I was working on a project and I emailed him about that and said, hey, I'm really interested in this. And they looped me into research that they were doing and said, this is an opportunity for you to get published and whatever. And just this collaborative working relationship. And then I needed something like 6 months ago. And I thought, I bet Dr. Gross would have it. So I emailed him again, I'm not even a student anymore. But that sort of collaboration and their desire to really pay attention to what was stirring in my heart. They knew that I had a real passion for marriage ministry. And so there was this kind of individualized approach with several of the faculty that would say, hey, for this paper, you could look at this, or you could research this. And so they really aligned what they knew of my own interests to fit to the program, which I just thought was really humbling and really neat.
That is awesome. I love Dr. Gross. He's awesome. He's really cool. So Emily, then I'm going to kind of put you on the spot again, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So we use an online platform called Canvas, where it becomes like your student portal, your student dashboard, where everything you need is in that platform. So can you just share with us a little bit about your experience of your assignments, of how that worked, of, kind of what that really looked like practically for a student?
Yeah, I found it really easy, to be honest. Each course had kind of all of our reading materials. I also appreciated, I don't think I had to buy a single textbook for the program. It was all my reading materials were available online. Some of them I printed, just so that I could take with me or whatever, but that was really simple, really user-friendly. And then a big part of the process for most of the courses were the weekly discussion posts, which were just an opportunity to kind of put to practice what I had read or what had struck me, what I was moved by perhaps, and then to kind of comment and engage with some of my other cohort. I feel like this is probably not what I'm supposed to say on one of these webinars. So keep it between us, Maria, but I found as a working mom, there were weeks that I had more time and there were weeks that I had less time. And that was okay. I felt like there wasn't a ton of busy work, that, was constantly like that I was trying to keep up with. I found it manageable in the way that it was put forward. And I just got this is a bit beyond your question. And I apologize, but I think it's so good. I got this great advice before I started the program from somebody who just said, remember that you are choosing to do this for you. And so don't feel like you need to approach it with this, like, oh, I have to jump through all the hoops and I have to do this and I have to do this. Like, take what you can from it. This is an investment in you and in your education. Take what you can, and it's okay to leave the rest. And that's the part that I know I'm probably not supposed to say, but that really gave me such freedom in my approach to the program. And I did my best to get all of the reading done. There were times where I couldn't. I was up late nursing a baby or whatever. And so I just approached the program with probably the most freedom that I'd ever approached education. And in that way found it so user-friendly and customizable to what God was kind of doing in me and in my life and that I could take from it. So in that way, engaging with Canvas and the assignments and the videos and that sort of thing, like I found great freedom in approaching it with this spirit of joy and curiosity and hunger for learning, but also not beating myself up for not getting every last page read or something like that on the assignments.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I love that advice of remembering your why is so important, right? Like when you're starting something, it's so important to remember what your why is. And in a very I think in our society, it's like a really kind of taboo thing to, on both sides of like, this is for me, it's either you're selfish or, you're not taking care of yourself. But this is something like you said that, it is for you, but it's for you to flourish so that you can promote that flourishing in other people.
Yeah,
ultimately why you're taking this time for yourself to learn the most you can, to, just soak in all the information and to engage with other people and learn from the other people in your cohort. At the end of the day, you want to get the most out of it so that ultimately God can use you to the most ability that he can with this knowledge. So I think that's such great advice.
Oh, that's so well said, Maria. And when approached from that perspective, he just uses it abundantly. And that was absolutely my experience, just approaching it in this real freedom and joy to receive this posture. It's really this posture of receptivity. It was really transforming and really life-giving. And I found great joy then in shouting it from the rooftops and telling people about it and putting into practice what I was learning. So it just really flowed out in that way. And instead of becoming a drag of, I have to go back to school, I just never experienced that. I didn't feel the overwhelm of going back to school. I found great freedom and great joy.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear that. That's a huge testament to what you learned and what you experienced. And Emily, you spoke about Dr. Gross, our friend right here, and how wonderful he was and receptive. And I will say I work very closely with Dr. Julia Clousley. And, there are times when I'm getting emails, like I'm CC'd on an email that she's responding to someone at, 2:00 in the morning or something crazy. Like our faculty are so passionate about psychology. Not just are they passionate about psychology, they're passionate about the students. They're passionate about forming other leaders in psychology that really have this holistic view and, really infused with the Catholic Christian model of the human person, being able to see a person holistically, who they are and how they are, and being able to go out and do the work in real life. So they're absolutely amazing. So we do have I kind of touched on it briefly. We do have 2 track options in the Master's in Psychology. We have our 26-month, which is a more typical track. It's 1 8-week course per term. And then we have our 16-month fast track option, which is when you're taking 2 of the 8-week courses per term. So there's 2 terms in the fall and the spring, and there's 1 term in the summer. So that being said, kind of some differences here is our 26-month, the more traditional track. We like to say it's about a 2 to 3 hour study time commitment per day. So to start thinking, it's going to be, depending on how you break things up and how you go through the material, it could be anywhere from 15 to 18 hours, 20 hours a week that you're working on school. In the 16-month, when you're doubling up on those classes, it could be a 4 to 5 hour daily time commitment, being more 25, 30, 35 hours a week, depending on, how you're going through your coursework and how you're managing your time. Now, with that being said, the 16-month fast track option also comes with a scholarship, a tuition scholarship. So you would pay full price for that first class. And then the second 8-week class, you would receive a 50% tuition scholarship towards that class. So when it's all said and done, if you stay in the 16-month, it's about a 20% tuition scholarship. Emily, which did you do? Did you do the 26-month?
These were not options. It took me, I did. I was 26 month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fast track is a newer option.
Okay.
For people.
Cool.
Now we're getting into, well, first, before I go further, does anybody have any questions about the tracks that usually causes some sort of stirring of some kind? So I just want to give people a minute if they have any questions about that. All right, well, if you have any questions, again, just insert them in there at any time. We're now going to move into the acceptance requirements. So we require a bachelor's degree or an international, if you are an international student or you received your degree internationally, it just needs to be an institution that is accredited by an agency recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. Our applicants need to have a 2.5 GPA or higher. We require 2 letters of recommendation, which I always want to preface that it is not like something scary where someone has to create something from nothing, which I have learned that is kind of like really stressful for people to ask people for. We make it really simple for you, really simple for your recommender. There's a Google form that you'll have the link sent to you and you'll be able to send it on to your recommender. So it'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to provide a recommendation for you. We also ask for your resume and then a written statement of intent, which is 300 to 500 words, really sharing your heart, why the goals of the MSP align with your future goals. And then for our international or English as a second language students, we do require the TOEFL exam as well. So then the $1 million question Is grad school affordable? This is a big question. I know some of the questions that came back through the emails that I sent out yesterday about what questions people have is about the affordability of grad school. And I will tell you a few things. DMU is very passionate that grad school should be accessible. And so we have our own in-house financial aid department that works very diligently to make sure that they're able to put together the most generous package for you, financial package for you, so that this can become a reality. We do offer payment plans through our student accounts department that if that's something that you would need, we definitely do everything that we can to make sure that this is affordable for you. That being said, we do not offer full ride scholarships. But you are able to see the scholarships that we do offer under the financial tab on the website, it says scholarships. So you can see on this next slide the breakdown of the cost for the program. So the tuition is $826 per credit hour. There are 33 credit hours in the course, which that takes you to $27,258. Then there is a technology fee for each of the 11 courses. That includes, any kind of online like Zooms, all of the books that you have accessible to you in the library. So that is $50 per course. So it'll be $550 for the subtotal of $27,808. So Emily, what was your experience working with financial aid? Do you feel like it was?
Yeah. So I was actually just going to say one thing that I really encourage a lot of people to do is to talk to their current employer. If you feel as though going back and getting your master's would aid in where you currently serve, where you currently work. My experience is that so many employers, they want to keep good employees and they want to invest in their employees. And I think there's a real case, especially because this is really a program that's marketed to the helping professional with leadership skills, understanding the human person, all of those kinds of things. My experience was that I talked to my employer and said, hey, I want to utilize this and I will be a better employee because of it. And they said, great, we will pay for it. So I just would really throw that out as an option. So by great grace of God, I ended up not needing financial aid. And I kind of worked out a service thing with my employer that I continue to serve here in gratitude for the gift of my education. So that was my experience. But that being said, the admissions counselor at the time was super helpful as I was kind of figuring out what that would look like. Was really helpful in laying out, here's what you can expect, here's how it works, here's financial aid opportunities, here's additional private scholarships that you could look at, that are independent, those kinds of things. So all that was really helpful.
That's awesome. And that's our role, is here to help you. Every single person on our team, whether it be in the admissions and the faculty, we're all motivated for your success as a student. And so we will do whatever we can to make sure that this process of applying for the program and getting admitted into the program is as easy peasy as possible. And, just that you're given the most support so that you're set up for the greatest success moving through the program and beyond. Ryan, let's talk offline. I'll have to re-look because there are some shifts that have taken place with some of the scholarships. So let's plan a time to connect. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for joining us. All right, great. So then our final slide here is, this has been the whole webinar. You've been given a lot of information, a lot of great information from Emily, just learning more about the program and what it entailed in joining the next cohort for the Masters of Psychology. And so here's some questions for you to maybe help you in your decision-making process of taking the next right step. Will the completion of your MSP help you attain your goals? Is the program scheduling and requirements for successful completion, is it workable within your schedule? Do the financial options discussed and the support from myself and the rest of the admissions staff, is this going to make the program affordable and attainable for you? And then are you able to commit to the successful completion of the program if you're accepted? So some things to leave you, some little nuggets to chew on for a little bit, and as you're continuing to discern your next steps. And hopefully your next steps will be contacting me and allowing us to have a more in-depth one-on-one to answer more questions that you may have, to get clarity on anything that you're still thinking about, or that you might leave wanting just to understand a little bit better. Also, to go through more in depth the application process, where to find it on our website, what information you'll need to go through that process. I'm more than happy and excited to answer any of those questions and to support you as you go through this journey. So I thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. I know that this is a bewitching time of dinner and getting kids where they need to be. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. Emily, I appreciate so much you being here, for all the knowledge that you've shared with us and all of your experience that you share with us. And I just want to give you the opportunity to just, any final last words. Is there anything else that you really want to make sure that the people that are on here tonight, that are listening, that are considering the MSP, that they know, or, that you want to encourage them, or any last words?
Yeah, my last words would be education is never a bad idea. And so it's just a matter of timing, and if this is the right program. And so, yeah, just really encourage the great formation and the great gift that this education was. I really want to affirm that. And hopefully it's the right fit for other people too.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for all that you're doing in Sioux Falls through the Lourdes Center. Thank you for being on tonight. I really appreciate it. And I will be reaching out to each of you that have been here tonight, and I will look forward to connecting hopefully soon. Have a blessed rest of your evening.